Hey Matt, how's it going?
Rick, good to see you.
It's funny,
Great.
we were putting everything on do not disturb and quiet, but I actually didn't mention to you before we hit record. I'm home alone. I have a sick wife. She's actually at the doctor's,
Oh,
three young kids and a puppy. So, it's like I can't exactly hit the do not disturb on all those things. So
yeah, exactly.
we'll see what
Yeah.
happens on the
There's
podcast
no do not
recording, but
disturb for life.
I might have a
It's like,
yeah, might have a 5-year-old running in here with a puppy peeing all over me. So we'll just see how it goes.
yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, but, it's great to have you. Why don't you just do a quick introduction of yourself?
Sure.
I've known you and talked to you every week practically, but the audience might
Yeah.
not, so
For a while now. Yeah, sure. No, it's great to be here, Rick, and appreciate the invite to join. So I'm Matthew Langie, go by Matt. I've been in the tech space for quite some time. Interestingly enough, I came out of grad school, worked for Intel for a few years up in Portland, Oregon. Um, so I got a taste of like really large enterprises, and this was under Andy Grove, big company growing fast. I was on the cover of Time magazine, that kind of thing. Um, but I kind of at heart was always a software guy for some reason. So I actually worked in a software lab at Intel that was responsible for building and developing 3D algorithms and audio algorithms, a lot of stuff that's probably used in podcasts today. Um, and then I was approached by a CEO of a video game developer that had partnered with Michael Crichton to serve as his VP of marketing. So that was kind of my first taste into, as we'll get into, AI, where we're crafting video games based on Michael Crichton's books and movies. One of which was called Timeline. It wasn't one of his bigger movies. It was right after Jurassic Park, so he was kind of operating the halo or the glow of that. Um, but one of the things about Crichton was that he was a scientist. He was a doctor by trade, a Harvard MD, and he was very, very specific about wanting to know the numbers of marketing. So he would, basically, I had to do marketing reporting without the marketing tools we take for granted today. So I was ripping through log file and doing log file analysis and stuff, which then led me to my career where I ultimately landed at a company called WebTrends, which is one of the founding companies of web analytics. I got stolen away, if you will, by Omniture, one of their top competitors. Ended up being with Adobe through that acquisition, and then been in kind of the SaaS and marketing tech space for that whole duration. So it's been a fun ride. And then I came into this now AI space with Personalize with my co-founder because of things we're doing that we can get into. But yeah, the world's changing yet again, and so the only constant is change. That's for sure.
so a lot of software background there. But now you're the CMO and co-founder of Personalize. So what was the, like, transition into the marketing world, and what really stuck for you on the marketing side?
Sure, sure. Well, I have an undergrad in marketing business BBA from Notre Dame. I got my MBA focused on marketing and tech from UT Austin. I've been kind of always around software. I was one of these geek kids that had a computer in my basement. I was programming BASIC and Fortran and stuff, and making video games and music sound programs, things like that. Um, but I was never like the engineering nerd, so to speak. I was always the marketing nerd or the business nerd or the entrepreneur nerd, in the sense that I was like, hey, how do we find a way to sell this? So I was always trying to find ways of like, how do we take this stuff that we're building with technology and find ways of marketing and selling? And so I just kind of naturally fell into the marketing space. I love working with marketers. I was proud to say when I was working at Omniture and then Adobe, I was a marketer who was marketing software to marketers. So it was about as a pure play job as I could have. And it was fun. Omniture was growing fast. We went from $120 million in revenue when I joined the company. I left Adobe 7.5, almost 8 years later at 1.3 billion.
Wow.
Worked with some of the most brilliant marketers in SaaS and in tech. I mean, just everywhere you turned at Omniture and Adobe, we just had great people. Everyone is really smart, worked really hard. Omniture was known as a kind of work hard, play hard culture in Utah. Great experience with that organization and the team that we had there, and really it was just a way of getting our hands dirty with. Um, Really understanding where the market was going, what the customers needed, how marketing technology was changing. When I started at WebTrends and then at Omniture, those charts that show all the logos on the screen. There's like 12 companies in web analytics and Martech. Martech wasn't even a word at the time, and all of a sudden, Marketo pops up, and and all these companies start popping up. Next thing you know, there's like 100,000 logos on the graphic. So it was fun being part of the kind of the journey early days. But you learn a lot of things that I think you know are true now, and it's kind of like it's history repeats itself. If it doesn't repeat itself, it's like what does they say? History rhymes.
Yeah.
So it's not the same play, but a lot of stuff that we're seeing with AI, and I'm on LinkedIn a lot more now. A lot of the same things that people are talking about today, we were talking about 15, 20 years ago in the early Martech days. So um, I'd say the problems are the same, but they're different in many ways. But it's I think the question for us as marketers is, okay, how do I leverage or use this technology to solve the problems I have for my business so I can reach my customer, better serve them, create better experiences? And that's where I think AI is really, really exciting.
From your perspective, what are you seeing that's kind of the same from then? And then,
Yeah.
what's different this time around?
Yeah, I'd say it's a lot of the same principles of business. Who's my customer? How do I find them? How do I reach them? How do I know they're actively buying or not buying? Um, I'd say today the data is a lot better. We have back in the day in 2008, intent signals, that wasn't a thing quite yet. Um, so a lot of it was cold email. But I'd say a lot of the channels are still the same. We still communicate via email, and you and I were just emailing minutes ago to get set up for this podcast. Text. So I think that the channels may change slightly, whether it's a direct message or an email or an advertisement. I think some of the principles I think are ultimately more or less universal. What's changing though is the capability of how we can reach out to customers and in what way, and that led to my working with my co-founder years ago when he first started working on personalization technology. So that's in the name of our business, Personalize. And this is back in 2020 when we first started working together, 6 years ago. He was the first guy his name's Hamed Tahiri. He was the first guy to introduce me to ChatGPT. He was the first guy to say the word. I was like, what is ChatGPT? And he was getting in all the technology about AI. And this was like version 2, I think, of ChatGPT. So it was very, very early. And I was kind of like, yeah, whatever, new technology. Um, and then I was running my marketing agency at the time, working with some clients. And then we brought a very early version of Personalize into some of my clients. And then what we saw in the way you can do personalization was dramatic, as in we could learn all about the customer. And we can talk about this, Rick, with what we're doing with Partner Vista and your customers. But this idea of taking a whole lot of data and bringing it all that together and synthesizing that, basically getting the right context. And we'll talk about that a lot here, I'm sure, as we get into AI. Um, Knowing it's John Smith at XYZ Corp who is the decision maker, and he works with Mary Jones also at XYZ Corp, and she's in finance, and she's the champion, and he may be the blocker. All those things can now really be learned and discerned and acted upon in a much more cost-effective way, a much more efficient way than we could, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, certainly. So I think AI is given us the ability to accelerate things very fast. Um, One of the funny things I read a few months ago, I guess, is that AI made good things better and made bad things worse, and it made mediocre things faster. So this idea of, you know, use AI where it makes sense. And I'm sure that a lot of your audience would say, "Yeah, I love AI for this, but I also hate it for that." And we're in the same boat at Personide. We're an
Yeah.
AI for company. We do a lot of things with AI. There's a lot of things I hate about AI as well. I can spot, Claude code websites a mile away. I can spot, if it's not this, it's that. That phrasing that you see everywhere. Of course, I've programmed Personized our memory and my Claude agents to never talk like AI. At least try not to. But yeah, AI is great. We can do a lot with it as marketers, but it's a tool, and not everything. If you've got the hammer, not everything's a nail. So use the tool in the right way for the
Yeah.
right job.
No, let's go a little bit deeper in that because I know especially a lot of the partner marketers I'm talking to, a lot of them are heavy AI users and kind of
Mhm.
what I would call, workflow proficiencies. So helping them
Yeah,
just do their job faster, but not as much in terms of actual program setup and execution for how they're going to market with their partners and how
yeah,
AI is actually helping them from a targeting perspective, a personalization perspective, a program delivery perspective. So, what are you seeing work well in terms of integrating AI to help
Mhm.
marketing outcomes as opposed to just helping me be a faster, better
Yeah.
marketer?
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say, so AI is great for how do I do these steps, this workflow much faster. So one of the things that we learned is that so we at Personalize, we integrate very heavily and directly into HubSpot and Salesforce and all the tools. Um, because what you're really looking for as a marketer is, and you'll hear this word a lot in AI, is context. So what is the context related to and I know in partner marketing, we talk a lot about leads. It's like lead delivery and lead management. And I've got this bucket of leads I need to get to the partner and have executed on behalf of the partner. I would dare say that partner marketing is going to change dramatically with AI because now those leads they're all humans. They're all people. They're all contacts at a company, and the ability for AI to learn everything it can about those leads, those contacts, and then deliver a personalized experience. So it's not a one size fits all. And that's how, Rick, how you know that we're working with Partner Vista is that we can do lead intelligence or contact intelligence. So leveraging AI agents as we have with Personalize, going out and finding everything we want to know about Mary Jones, who's that CFO champion at the company, or anyone else on the team for that matter. We all have a very public footprint for the most part. There's a lot that the AI agents and technology can learn about all of us as individuals, and the whole idea is how can we deliver a much better experience so it's not a one size fits all partner marketing program that we're just trying to check a box for, yep, we deliver these programs, for these leads, and this is what happened. Now there's a whole lot more we can do in delivering a much better experience. For example, personalized emails. Now, I know there's a lot of people that have received AI emails, and a lot of times we can spot that because it's kind of cold email spam at a much higher volume. I've received those. I know you've received those as well. That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is a very I would almost say it's handcrafted or it's composed in a way that it's meaningful and it's highly personalized based on everything we know about that particular contact. Then take it a step further. It's like, okay, they receive that email. Where do they go? Well, they can go to a landing page. I would contend that the web is changing and websites are going to change in a very dramatic way in the sense that think about a website as just a blank canvas that is then reactive or responsive or personalized to the individual. So no longer does a website need to be a one size fits all. It can actually be come here to this website from this campaign that I got from this personalized email. And now for Mary Jones, it can speak directly to her, what her issues are, what we know about. She may have spoken publicly or posted something or blogged about something or tweeted about something that is meaningful to that experience. And that can be reflected back to her through what is the content that's placed on the landing page. So I look at it as marketers, we can do a lot better. Yes, there's work and there's technology and there's AI and there's a lot of things that we got to stitch together to do that. It's not that hard at the end of the day when you get it right, and it can be very meaningful. And the end result is much better customer experience, much better experience in these campaigns, and much higher conversion rates, and everybody wins.
Yeah, I know we've leaned into it very heavily just working with you all because nurture's been like a big kind of need and challenge, especially in the partnership go to market motion in terms of like, okay, we're generating leads, but we need to nurture these leads before they get to
Yeah,
sales. And from my point of view, 15 years at IDG, 5 years at Tech Target, and just working across the industry, nurture's been a very robotic experience. Like, okay, we're going to create a 5 email nurture, and every
yeah,
email is going to say, every email one
yeah,
says the same thing. Every email two says the same thing. And then when we talk about
yeah.
personalization, essentially all we're doing is like insert company name, insert
Dear,
industry, right?
dear
And so,
insert first name.
oh, yeah, we're personalizing these emails, but all we're doing is just replacing finance with manufacturing versus government, and so I did a webinar with ServiceNow for their partners, kind of just talking about some of these challenges. And the example I gave was, in terms of, the challenge is like we're treating leads as segments. And
Yep.
the reality, I think you pointed this, is that leads are individuals. Like these are individuals on buying teams with unique
Yeah.
challenges, unique priorities. And the example I gave is like if we send an email one, right, it goes out to 1,000 different people. Yeah, it might all have the same call to action, but we know that this email is going to John Smith, who works at Children's Hospital. We know Children's Hospital has a brand new CIO. We know the CIO is making public announcements about patient experience and how they're investing in digital transformation to drive patient
Yeah.
experience. And we know that they're hiring for XYZ jobs, maybe related to AI workflow automation as part of that digital transformation. We know what they're posting about on LinkedIn. We're going to use all this information to
Yeah.
personalize that email to John Smith to say, hey, John, we know how important patient experience is for you and how AI workflow automation can help drive that forward. Right. And that might be totally different than email number two, that goes out to Jane Smith, who's at a manufacturing company that's, investing in something different. So I
Yeah.
think just that the big takeaway here is like, why aren't we treating individuals as individuals and not as segments? And I think, there's
Yeah.
a lot of tools out there like yours that can help us do that in real time, bringing AI into these programs, without having to from our point of view, without having to, invest in the platforms. And I think that's always kind of like the big thing for a lot of marketers out there is like, well, look, it's just,
Yeah.
you know, do I have to invest in another platform to do this? And for us, it's like, well, we just baked it into our workflow on a cost per
Yep.
lead basis. So I think just trying to keep it simple and easy is kind of the key.
Yeah. Well, and Rick, what you're speaking to is this goes back, and we were talking about this back in the, I think it was even in grad school. There's some notable authors, Peppers and Rogers, one-to-one personalization, one-to-one marketing, some of those ideas where, get a 360-degree view of the customer, understanding of the customer, and then you can do true one-to-one personalization. Um, that promise has been one of those kind of, North Star guiding principles that I've always looked at as a marketer. But it's never been achievable. I think we're a lot closer now
Hmm.
because we can, instead of email one being just a, um, cut and paste of a bunch of words that goes to everybody in the same way. Now it's like, well, Mary Smith has slightly different, as the CFO of this organization, has slightly different expectations than um, John James over here at ABC Corp. They may be in the same industry, they may both be healthcare CFOs, but what they talk about, what's important, what's priority for them is different. So I think a lot of it is, and this goes back to this idea of context. The context for what we understand and what AI can understand about Mary is going to be different than what it understands about John. Why wouldn't you then necessarily? Why would you refrain or not use that new context to deliver a better experience for each of them individual at an individual level? You can do that now. And so, and we don't call Personalize a tool. We are a platform in a way that we're kind of the infrastructure. One of the things I would add though, Rick, is that something that's really difficult for marketers today with AI, and that is AI and AI agents are stateless machines. So it's on or it's off. So the whole idea here is that the analogy I've been using lately is think of the world's smartest consultant with perfect amnesia, which means every day they show up at your office as that consultant and they've forgotten everything from yesterday and the day before and the last week that they've worked with you. Everything is complete blank, but they have a binder and they're really smart. They're the world's smartest consultant. They can open that binder and go back and refer to things like, oh yeah. We did this thing on Friday last week. It's now Monday. Let's go do email number 2 in the nurture or whatever that might be. As soon as they close that binder and it's the end of the day and they come back on Tuesday, they've forgotten everything again. So what AI needs to have is a persistent memory. It's something we call unified customer memory. This idea that you need to have memory that is retained over time. So it's not stateless. It's not your AI agent that understands what it's doing right now, and then as soon as you stop, it forgets everything. So that's important for this personalization, because if you remember everything about Mary, and then there's something new, maybe she just posted makes a new tweet or post on X, or maybe there's a new 10Q that came out from the company that's very relevant to the finances of the organization. Maybe there's a new round of funding. Something's happened. There's some different state for that company. Um, when you have that memory already embedded in your AI operations, and that new thing comes in, that's new context. It's retained, and the whole idea is you're no longer dealing with perfect amnesia. You're dealing with perfect memory in many ways, where and they can infer things like, okay, now is the time to send out the nurture to Mary because they just got a new round of funding. They're fresh or flush with cash. This would be a great time to engage them with this offer or whatever the campaign or the outreach might be. So I think this idea of and some of the challenges with AI has been that lack of memory. So that's one of the things that we were dealing with a year ago as we were building apps for AI and found that really you have to solve the plumbing issue first. So if you want to have the nice bathrooms and the pretty spigots and everything in your house, you got to have good plumbing. So we went back to the drawing board. We essentially pivoted as a company in what we were building, and my co-founder Hamed and his team of engineers, we went off and kind of threw out the old playbook and wrote a new one, and found that memory, persistent memory, is key. The other part of this is what we call governance, and that is we have to be able to tell the AI what to do and when and why in many ways, particularly as marketers. So think about brand. Brand is sacrosanct at companies like Adobe and Intel and others that have built very large, successful brands. Sacrosanct, I think that's the right way to say it. The whole idea is that brand is it's like a fireable offense. If you mess up the brand as a marketer at these companies, say goodbye. So one example I always use is it was, and I learned this early on. This is the late '90s of Intel. Was that the Pentium processor was rolling out? The brand mandate from Intel was you never make this a possessive. It's never Intel's possessive S Pentium processor. It is always the Intel Pentium processor. And if you broke that rule, you got fired. Today, an AI agent could break that rule because it doesn't have governance saying, this is our brand guideline. This is how you speak about our brand to our customers. Do not ever violate this. AI agents don't know the difference. Again, it's that consultant with perfect amnesia. They can't remember not to do those kinds of things. So we've also built that capability into Personalize, and that's I know that's helped with the programs that we do together. Which is if you're working with large organizations like ServiceNow or Google or NVIDIA or any large brand that's very successful because they've been consistent and persistent in delivering their brand in the right way into the market. You got to make sure your AI agents are cognizant of that and are aware of that and behave in the right way. And that's the other aspect of AI that I think we solve for quite well.
Yeah, I think that's a good takeaway for a lot of marketers out there that are being pushed to do, utilize AI. But at the same time, that might be partnering with a company like Google or AWS that has very strict brand guidelines and how we go to market,
Yeah,
and align to partner co-funding criteria, while making sure there's a governance layer later and laid into what they're utilizing AI to
yeah,
help support. But I want to touch on the memory stuff because I think this is huge because, working with a lot of partner marketers, I'm always hearing
mhm,
about running always on programs, right? And I've been running quarterly programs for partner marketers for decades. And it's always like, well, what learnings can I take that's actionable that I can actually put
yeah,
into my next quarterly program and help it actually do better? And I've seen every wrap up, under the sun. And a lot of them are like, oh, okay, X% are director level and above, or X% are in this industry. And, we saw this intent signal as the highest, but not a lot of it is actually something
yeah,
I can take and put in that next program to actually help it perform. And I think what's interesting about what you guys are doing with this memory layer is like there's a programmatic layer of taking information and programmatically optimizing programs in real time so that, like, let's say, Mary engaged with something. What can we learn from that? Now someone from her buying team comes into the program 2 quarters later. Okay, what didn't work with Mary that we can utilize to optimize emails, landing pages, program components in real time,
yeah.
to engage that person? Or if there's another company out there that looks just like that company, how do we utilize that information too? And it's all done at a programmatic layer.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing is I think that the two things you have to have the memory because that's what ties everything together over time. You have to have the governance. So we know not to reach out to Mary when they're about to, do their end of quarter reporting, then at the beginning of the next quarter, whatever that might be. And then those two things together then enable the ability to do personalization. So again, personalizations, it's not the mail merge with a first name, dear insert first name Mary. It's genuine intelligence about the account. It's genuine intelligence about that person, the contact. So now, um, as things evolve and you're 2 quarters in to these campaigns and these programs, it's a compounding effect. Think about we as humans we get better as we learn things. You think about a kid learning to play piano as I did or guitar as I still do. Learning a song, you figure out the notes and the structure of it, and you just keep getting better and better with it because you've memorized how to play the song. AI
Yeah.
works a lot the same way when it has that infrastructure, that memory, and that governance, saying this is how you play the note. This is when you hit that power chord, whatever song you're playing. and the whole idea is that these aren't like separate features. This is all part of a single system, and that's the system that we've deployed and helped you guys with at Partner Vista, because it's the world's smartest consultant with that perfect amnesia. It doesn't work if the binder only remembers certain things. It doesn't work if it doesn't follow the rules. It doesn't work if it's assembling something fresh every single time. So it's not like you're having to, um, repeat and redo it, the same things you're doing in the second quarter and the third quarter. You can compound it and you can learn from it. So the system itself programmatically will say, hey, we're going to be much better in the third quarter than we were in the first quarter, because of all these things we've learned, all these things we've memorized. That context continues to be additive. It gets one of the things that we do is we compress it, so it's super cost effective. One of the things we're really proud of is we've gotten this to the point where we've been able to save companies up to 88% of the cost of their AI, their token utilization. So think about if you're in Claude and you've got a bunch of AI agents you're running through, you're a CIO and you're spending $100,000 a month on Claude, we can save almost up to 88% of that cost, because it's almost like a zip file. You remember the days of where you'd have to zip things up, and hard drives and floppy disks were limited in storage space. You had to zip things up to make things small. It's the same idea. Context can all be kind of zipped up or compressed, and then utilized later on by these agents to deliver that personalization. So the cool thing is memory actually makes it cheaper to operate, makes it more effective. The customers get a better experience. You can deliver a better partner marketing experience for your customers, and it's kind of a win-win-win for everyone.
No, it has been, and it's been fun working with you and learning all this, because it's we've been able to integrate this into our Partner Vista programs to have always on, pipeline driven engines, but partner marketers are just still buying leads from us, right? They're not having to
Yeah,
figure all this out. It's
yeah,
systematically baked into the programs. The more you leave it on, the better it gets.
yeah,
And it allows partners just to spend more time where they want to spend times, and
yeah,
that's with their partners, right? And
yeah,
thinking about go-to-market strategy and all the fun stuff, and not building
yeah,
programs and taking them down and rebuilding and doing all that stuff. So
yeah.
we've covered a lot. We've covered personalization, AI, memory, governance. Anything else that you think we need to just touch upon before we leave, folks?
Yeah, no, I'd say, you know, first thing I'd recommend is just experiment, play with AI. It can be dangerous if you do it wrong. So be careful where you point that weapon, if you will. But it's absolutely changing business. It's changing the economy. It's changing the market. So, I think I posted something on LinkedIn a few months back. Like, you can either be the sheep or the wolf. Uh, AI is coming for all of us in some ways. And I say that mostly joking. Some of it could be a little scary if you think about it in the context of the Terminator movies or the Matrix movies. But all joking aside, I think it can be a very, very powerful capability for any partner marketing, any marketer in general. Um, and there's like anything else, there's ways of doing it right. There's ways of getting it set up right. There's ways of partnering with the right people that know how it's working in the right way. We love to partner with our customers as we partner with you, Rick, and your team. So it's we're all learning together. I don't think there's any true experts on AI if you look at it in the context of 10,000 hours spent really delving into how exactly AI works. But I think there's a lot of us that have been doing it, a long time, and we know kind of what to do and what not to do. But yeah, we're here to help. We're here to work with anyone. One of the things that we just launched this week is something we call CRM AI Operator. So we're now helping our customers at no cost. It's open source. It's an MIT free license, where our customers and just people who want to check it out can go to our website at Personalize CRM AI Operators. They can check that out, and download and get it installed. It's a GitHub repo. I won't get into all the tech stuff behind it, but it's really easy to kind of get it set up and test it out. And it'll do things like what we do for Partner Vista with Personalize. It's basically like a CRM operator that's always on, really smart. It's learning, it's got memory, and it can do a lot of cool stuff for your business. So I
Awesome.
encourage people to check that out. But and it is always, if folks want to reach out to me, I'm sure you can put my email up on the podcast here. Or feel free to share that. But
Yeah,
happy to engage.
we'll share your LinkedIn for sure on the show notes, so if people
Great,
wanna reach out, they can connect with
awesome.
you, and
Yeah, love it.
we're gonna be doing more too as we kind of go to
Yeah,
market with our own little product launch and how you guys are integrated in this, so we'll have some more educational sessions where we actually talk more about what the product is too, and be a little more salesy in a webinar as opposed to just the fun stuff here on the podcast. But
Yeah.
Matt, thanks for coming on, man. This was a lot of fun,
Yeah,
and
Rick.
like always, I always learn a little bit more about AI when I talk to you. So I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
and likewise. So it's great working with you and your team, and look forward to more conversations.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt.
Okay.